Watch this video if you are addicted to porn because I will show you how to quit even from day 0 or day 1, even if you relapsed right now. Because I was there. I know how you feel. Because I know I felt guilty, shameful, and depressed when I was in the same place as you are right now. Back in April 2022, I used to relapse 2 to 3 times, and I couldn't even go past 3 days in no five streak. I used to fail my no-fap streak 3 days, 5 days, or even 6 days in. I had a hard time even making to the 7th day. And I know it is the same for some of you as well. I used to feel so guilty and so depressed because I couldn't go past 3 days. I used to feel like I will never escape the clutch of this addiction. Every time I relapsed, I used to tell myself, no, this is the last time, and I will never faff again. I will never get back to this addiction again. But 2 3 days later, I would be there in the same place, relapsing 1 2 3 times again. And I told myself hundreds or thousands of times that I will stop. This is the last time. I quit from today, and I couldn't quit. And I used to feel so guilty about that. I used to feel so shameful because I relapsed. I used to feel guilty. I couldn't just keep myself away from this addiction. I didn't have enough self control to keep myself away from this addiction. And I was in depression. I was in severe depression. I was so I was so depressed that I felt like my life had no meaning, and I wanted to end it all. But hopefully, I had hope, and I picked myself up from that place of life and leveled up my mental and physical health to the level where I didn't feel so depressed anymore. I had self confidence that I can beat this addiction, I can escape the hand of this addiction, and I can rise myself up to the next level, to the level level of high ambitious masculine men who achieves what they want to achieve and do what needs to be done to achieve what they want to achieve. When I when I was that deep in this addiction, I used to feel low motivated. I used to not have any motivation to do any work because I was so addicted that my dopamine level was literally fried. It literally felt below the baseline where I would find no joy and enjoyment in doing everyday tasks. I wanted to build a agency business at that time, but I failed doing any basic tasks, bare minimum of tasks to build that agency because I was wasting all my energy and potential in this addiction. I was losing all my dopamine, which is why I wasn't feeling any motivation at all to do any of the work. Which is why I couldn't succeed with my agency business because I just couldn't force myself to work. I didn't had enough willpower to fight this addiction and also force myself, discipline myself to do the work at the same time. I was so down bad at that time, and I felt so unsuccessful because I couldn't do the work. But now I have changed all of it. And today I want to show you the basic science and basic reasoning and the logic behind how I have changed my mindset so that I could quit this addiction easier. So the first thing you have to understand is dopamine baseline. As I was saying, my dopamine has fallen below the baseline. But what is dopamine baseline? Let me explain to you that first. Brother, there is a set amount of dopamine in your system every single day. It is the normal amount of dopamine that stays in your brain and stays in your system. And what happens is when you get aroused or get urged to watch something, your dopamine rises above the baseline. And once you do the deed or was the addictive thing and do the deed. What happens is your dopamine falls. It doesn't fall to the baseline, but it falls below the baseline. And every time you keep engaging with this addictive stuff, your dopamine keeps on falling, and it falls to the so low that your baseline gets sets lower every single time you give into the addiction. Every single day your baseline keeps falling lower, lower and lower. At the end it happens that your dopamine baseline is so low that you don't feel fine in everyday things like work, studies, or playing actual game in real life as sports, etc. You don't find any fun in this activity at all because your dopamine baseline is fallen so low. Your dopamine receptors are literally fried. This is what happens when you give into the addiction too many times. And I know, brother, that you have done that to yourself. Your dopamine baseline has fallen way below the normal of other people. Your baseline is below the baseline of other people, which is where the problems happens because you don't find any pleasure in doing any real life activity and any real life task anymore, which is what makes your life even more miserable and even more unsuccessful. This is the destructive loop of addiction. And this falling of baseline is what leads to depression and anxiety. This causes you severe depression and severe anxiety. Because you have to understand something, my friend. Your dopamine is your level of motivation. Dopamine is equal to motivation. Because if you don't have high enough dopamine in your system, if you depleted them all through this addiction, your dopamine baseline will fall. Okay, your dopamine level will fall. So what will happen is you won't feel motivated to do achieve your goal, to do anything productive. Because all your dopamine has been gone. All of your dopamine has been used for this addiction. Your brain has made you crave the addictive thing instead of doing craving the achievement, craving the goal of doing the work. But you need dopamine in your system to feel motivated to achieve the goal you want to achieve. But if you don't have enough dopamine in your system, what will happen? What do you think will happen? Of course you are not going to feel motivated. Of course your level of motivation will fail. You won't want to do the work. You won't feel like doing the work because your dopamine level has fallen so low. Now you don't have enough motivation to focus on your goals. It is very basic science. This is a very basic science. Brother, your dopamine is like a currency. You use this currency on doing the work that is going to give you the long term goal, the goal that you're going to achieve in 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months from now. It could be anything like passing an exam, building a business, or building a personal brand, YouTube channel, or any content creation goal. It could be any of this. But if you deplete your currency on addictive stuff like porn, video games, anime, watching garbage entertainment content, if you use your willpower and motivation and deplete them in these things, how are you going to work on your goals? How are you going to feel the motivation to achieve the goal that you want to achieve in your life? Because all of your motivation is already gone because your dopamine has been depleted. And if you don't have motivation and you don't have focus, those two things comes in hand to hand. And if you have lost both of these things, no, your willpower and your discipline is not going to be helping you because to use discipline, to use willpower, you have to focus on something. If you don't focus, then you are not going to use your discipline or willpower because it's not, discipline is not just avoiding something. Discipline is focusing on something and maintaining your focus. But if your brain dopamine system is fried, you if your brain dopamine system is fried, You don't have enough motivation to even focus on the work. How are you going to use your discipline and how are you going to use your willpower? You can't. And you can't use willpower and discipline to beat this addiction either, because this addiction is depleting your dopamine and you need dopamine to use your willpower and to use your discipline. But if your dopamine is depleted, how are you going to use your willpower? Because your willpower will feel drained. The fact that you try to not give into the urge is already has wasted a lot of your willpower. Majority of your willpower is already gone. Now how are you going to do the work? Which is why the morning is the most important part of your day, because your energy level remains the highest when you wake up early in the morning. So you should try to get the most important work done early in the morning, because you haven't given up to the addiction yet. And if you are giving up to the addiction early in the morning, you are not going to be able to achieve anything, because the rest of your day will be ruined. Trust me, I have been there. I have done the experiment for you. You don't have to do it. You will lose motivation, you will lose your willpower and energy and discipline to do all the necessary work that you have to do to achieve success if you give up early in the morning. This is why you have to quit this addiction, you have to stay away from this addiction as much as possible. You have to escape this addiction, because this addiction is ruining your ability to work on what you need to work on to achieve the success that you want. Do you really want it? Do you really want to be successful? Do you really want to be high achieving person? Because if you're watching my content, I already know you are someone who want to escape this addiction and you want to achieve high goals in your life. You have high ambitions for yourself. But do you want it? Do you really want it? If you really want it, you have to fight this addiction. So, if you really want to achieve great things in life, you have to bring back your dopamine baseline to normal level, and if you can, even increase the level below above the average level. Because if you want to achieve above if you want to achieve above average result in life, you have to do above average things. And for that, if you have above average motivation, you can be able to do that much easily. So I will ask you again, do you really want it? If you really want it, then you have to prove it to yourself that you really want it, and you have to go hard at this. You have to go hard at the grind, go hard at the hustle, and you can't give up. Video games are also very dangerous for you, but I have talked about them in another videos, so I'm not going to talk about them right now. But porn addiction is the most dangerous one, because the accessibility and intensity of how dangerous this video addiction is. The accessibility and intensity, the accessibility and intensity of porn addiction makes it one of the most dangerous addiction in the world. And it's even more dangerous because you spend a lot of time on video game, but porn and tapping doesn't take that much time. You can 5, 10, 15 minutes, you can waste all of your energy and dopamine reserve that you need for motivation and to achieve success in life. Which is why this is one of the most dangerous addiction in the world. Now what I want to give you, now I don't want to just leave you with some understanding. Now I want to leave you with one tactic that you can apply right now and increase your chance of fighting this addiction and beating this addiction. And this tactic is dopamine fasting for 30 days. Now, what is dopamine fasting? Well, Dopamine fasting or dopamine detox is you quitting to any, what is the word? Now let me explain to you what dopamine fasting is. You, for 30 days, you avoid everything that spikes your dopamine to very high level. What are these things? It could be video game, porn, obviously, watching entertainment garbage videos on the internet like YouTube or Facebook, and TV series, anime, all the thing that you are addicted to, everything that you are addicted to, everything that is brain rot, that spikes your dopamine to high level, must be avoided for 30 days. And first 7 to 14 days are going to be the hardest when you do this. But if you can go through the hard part and reach day 30, your life will entirely be changed. Why will it why will it change? Because your life will be entirely transformed, because your dopamine baseline will reset. And when your dopamine baseline resets, you will feel the joy of doing the everyday task again. You will feel joy in reading books. You'll feel joy in doing the productive task that you said you'd do. You will feel the joy of studies. You will joy of doing the business work that you have to do, or the content creation work that you have to do. You will feel the joy in these things again, because you have avoided the dopamine spiking thing for 30 days, and now your dopamine baseline has reset, has been back to the normal level, which is why now you feel the joy of truly living in the moment is, and you will find joy in your work again. And if you are going to start the 30-day challenge, let me know in the comment that I am starting. And if you have completed it, then come back and leave a review of how you feel after doing the 30-day challenge. And if you have watched this far, check the links in the description, because I have a step by step system on how to quit this addiction. Check it out, and also click here to watch the next video. Click now, click, 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 click now.